Welcome to Part 4 of our Civil War travel series, retracing the steps of Clint's great-great-grandfather as he fought with the 5th Wisconsin Light Artillery. In previous episodes, we followed their battles in Missouri, Mississippi, and Kentucky.
After returning home to make some van repairs, I returned to Tennessee to continue the journey of exploring the battles of Fred Block and the 5th Wisconsin Battery. Debbie was unable to accompany me on this trip, so I was now traveling alone. As I drove through Murfreesboro to visit the Stones River battlefield, I knew I would have mixed emotions. The previous battlegrounds I had visited had been places of victory to celebrate. This one was different. While the Union Army would eventually gain a victory here, it was only after suffering terrible losses on the first full day of battle. This would include the casualties of several members of the 5th Wisconsin Battery. But first, a little background. Following the battle in Perryville, Kentucky in October of 1862, the Confederate Army under Braxton Bragg retreated back into Tennessee through the Cumberland Gap to Knoxville. Because Union General Carlos Buell defied orders from Washington to continue pursuing Bragg's army, he was relieved from command. General William Stark Rosecrans was placed in charge of the newly reorganized army. On the day after Christmas of 1862, Rosecrans ordered his army out of Nashville, where they had been resupplying, to face off against Bragg's Confederates, which were now in Murfreesboro. December 30th saw Union and Confederate armies forming battle lines along Stones River, both sides planning for a New Year's Eve attack against the other. As I arrived at the battlefield, I immediately drove to the visitor center and museum to view exhibits of that fateful battle. As the sun set on that cold December night, soldiers on both sides were anxious about the approaching battle. Brigadier General Henry M. Siss wrote, "Every soldier on that field knew when the sun went down on the 30th that on the following day he would be engaged in a struggle unto death, and the air was full of tokens that one of the most desperate of battles was to be fought." Confederate soldier Samuel Say wrote, "Just before tattoo, the military bands on both sides began the evening music. The still winter night carries the strands to a great distance. At every pause on our side, far away could be heard the military bands of the other. Finally, one of them struck up Home Sweet Home, as if by common consent all other airs ceased, and the bands of both armies, as far as the ear could reach, joined in that refrain." It's been said that almost all of the 78,000 men of both sides joined in singing Home Sweet Home together. Later in the darkness of the night, Union soldiers on the right flank could hear the unmistakable sound of an influx of Confederate infantry and artillery moving to their right. It was plain that Bragg was planning an attack on the right flank of the Federal troops. When soldiers on the front reported the rebel movements to their generals, they took no action to adjust their lines, because Rosecrans planned to use his left wing to attack the right flank of the Confederates in the morning. But in the pre-dawn hours, rebels surprised Union leaders with an early attack on the Union right with an overwhelming force. Federal troops on the far right were outflanked, unable to withstand the rebel charge. The 5th Wisconsin Battery had camped in a cedar thicket near the enemy's lines, ready to do battle. The following quotes are excerpts from the writing of Charles Cunningham of the 5th Wisconsin Battery that were published in the National Tribune. "We left the cedar thicket and moved until we were rushed into action, taking a position in a cornfield. We commenced firing briskly, shot and shell, until the enemy were advancing too close, then used canister. The volleys of musketry and booming of artillery, screeching and bursting shells with the movement of troops, and the thundering of both armies made us all know that the battle raged fiercely and that the approaching columns of rebels were pressing us, when we saw our infantry support falling back. Many of the horses of the battery were wounded, some dying, some killed. the riders were busy extricating such from the limbers and caissons. Amid this ordeal, the battery remained, firing canister at the advancing rebel ranks. Brave Captain Penny and many others of the command were seriously wounded. Captain Penny was being taken off the field by young Lieutenant George Q. Gardner and Private Joe Hoffman when he said to them, seeing the enemy pressing onward, quote, "My God, leave me here, George, and save the battery," unquote. At his request, they reluctantly laid him down on the battlefield with his sword by him, and in a short time he was captured, a wounded prisoner with many others. 5 of the battery's 6 guns were saved from being captured. The Illinois 59th Infantry helped pull one cannon up a hill because most of the horses had been shot. It was sobering to walk on that hallowed ground where so many men and boys from both the North and South had perished. In this area, which the soldiers called the slaughter pen, many Federal troops took refuge behind the large rocks, but then found themselves trapped as the Confederate bullets and canister shells exploded around them. The bloodstains are gone, but the memories remain. Some of the Wisconsin 5th Battery were captured, but later in the day rescued by a Union counterattack led by General Jefferson C. Davis. As a side note, this was the same general that had murdered General Nelson in Louisville, but with the urgency of the war, he was never tried. He regained command but never promoted beyond the level of brigadier. Commanding General Rosecrans finally sent reinforcements to the right wing and stopped the advance of the Confederates, but they had lost 2 to 3 miles from where they had started in the morning. Both sides spent New Year's Day tending to the dead and wounded. But on January the 2nd, Bragg ordered Major General Breckinridge to lead an attack on the Union left against the lower officers' objections. The results were disastrous for the rebels. 57 Union cannon opened fire from a hill above, repulsing the rebel attack. Over 1,800 Confederate soldiers were wounded or killed in what has been called one of the bloodiest charges of the Civil War. The 5th Wisconsin Battery assisted in holding the line against the Confederate attack. Bragg began withdrawing his army from Murfreesboro the following day, and the city became a major supply depot for the Union for the remainder of the war. As the rain began to fall, my last stop was to find the exact location where the 5th Wisconsin Battery was overrun, which is not a part of the National Battlefield Park. I'm here just off of Grisham Lane. I'm in a parking lot of a church and overlooking, looks like maybe a soccer area here. And there's a school right next by. And as far as I can tell from the National Park Service map, this is the area where my great-great-grandfather and the 5th Wisconsin Light Artillery was positioned and overcome and attacked, where the horses were slaughtered and their captain was mortally wounded. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. An upcoming video will follow my travel to the battlefields of Chickamauga and Chattanooga.